Chosen one, a hired spiritual spy, has just encountered the shock of their professional life. Your past connections attempted to violate your privacy, but you just astounded this reader that was paid to tap into your energy. Who are you? This practitioner, expecting a standard reading, froze the moment they accessed your field. They found not a struggling ex but a master of the elements who has alchemized trauma into unbreakable power. Curiosity wasn't the motivation. Strategy was, calculation was. Their goal was knowing exactly where you are in your healing, because if wounds still exist, they can be used. If you're still carrying pain from what happened between you, they have leverage. They sought financial information because money is power. If you're struggling financially, you're more likely to accept help even if strings are attached, even if it gives them access again. They were hoping to hear you're broke or barely making it, because that's an opening, an excuse to reach out, a way to make themselves necessary in your life again. They wanted information about your social circle. Are you surrounded by strong people who would see through manipulation, or are you isolated? Because lonely people are easier to influence. They were hoping to hear you're alone, that you've pushed everyone away, that you're struggling. Then they could position themselves as the one person who really understands you, the one willing to come back despite everything. This person wanted a complete map of your life, your healing progress, your emotional temperature, your financial situation, your social connections, your work life, everything, like you're some target they're surveying before an operation. And what is that if not predatory? This is someone treating you like a resource to be exploited, rather than a human whose boundaries deserve respect. They sent this practitioner in blind. No warning about who they were actually reading, no mention of your spiritual protection, no statement about you walking with serious power. So the practitioner entered the session unprepared, and now they're paying the price. Now they're looking at information that's causing them a spiritual crisis, because trained practitioners know certain people shouldn't be read without permission. They know some energy fields shouldn't be entered uninvited. They know some individuals have spiritual teams that will respond if sovereignty gets violated. They just realized they crossed every line. They just painted a karmic target on themselves by agreeing to this work. The person who paid for this session is waiting for information that will give them power over you. They expect to hear you're struggling, lonely, confused, lost without them. They wanted to find vulnerability they could exploit, wounds they could press on, weaknesses they could leverage to make you need them. But instead they're hearing something completely different. You're whole, powerful, protected, thriving. You're moving into opportunities beyond their imagination. You're surrounded by abundance and new beginnings. Doors are opening everywhere for you, and suddenly the person who orchestrated this spiritual espionage feels powerless. They're being exposed. They're realizing you weren't just lost to them. They fumbled something irreplaceable. They had access to someone extraordinary, and their treatment was so poor that you had no choice but to remove them. And now it's too late. You're so far beyond their reach that trying to connect to you would be like trying to reach someone on another planet. They encountered something they've never seen in all their years of practice. Your energy signature doesn't read like a typical person. It reads like someone who's been through multiple lifetimes of evolution, compressed into this one existence. They saw layers upon layers of spiritual development. Imagine for out initiates you've passed that most people never even know exist. You've been tested in ways that would break ordinary souls, and every single time you emerged not just intact but elevated. They kept pulling for clarification because they couldn't believe what they were seeing. Each new piece of information made them more uncomfortable, more impressed, more terrified about having touched your field without permission. They saw resources coming into your life, real abundance, money flowing in new ways, career moves that will elevate you, opportunities lining up, and the person who hired them wants to intercept those blessings. They want to block them. They want to know when they're coming, so they can somehow insert themselves or sabotage the process. Think about how twisted that is. This is someone who would rather see you fail than succeed without them, someone who can't stand the thought of you thriving independently, someone who needs you to need them so badly that they're willing to destroy your blessings rather than celebrate your growth. But here's what made this practitioner actually gasp. They detected a frequency that's typically reserved for ascended masters, people who've dedicated entire lifetimes to spiritual practice, those who've meditated in isolation for extended periods, mystics who've withdrawn from the world to pursue enlightenment. Yet here you are, living a regular life, dealing with regular challenges, and somehow maintaining this elevated state of consciousness. You're not in a monastery, you're not isolated on a mountaintop, you're here, in the world, doing the work, and holding a vibration that most spiritual teachers spend lifetimes trying to achieve. That's what astounded this practitioner. That's what made them realize they weren't dealing with someone ordinary. They saw you've mastered something most people struggle with their entire lives: balance. You're not all light and no shadow. You're not pretending darkness doesn't exist. You've integrated both. You faced your shadow self, and instead of running from it or suppressing it, you embraced it. You made peace with parts of yourself that society says should be hidden. And that integration is what gives you real power, not the fake power that comes from pretending to be perfect, but the authentic power that comes from being whole, from accepting every part of yourself, from no longer fragmenting your consciousness to fit into boxes that were never meant to contain you. If this touched your heart and mind, hype this video so more chosen ones can receive this message. Here's what this all comes down to. Boundaries. This person has never respected yours, not when they were in your life, and certainly not now. The practitioner saw someone who sees your boundaries as challenges to overcome rather than limits to respect, who sees your no as an opening negotiation rather than a final answer, who sees your need for space as something temporary they can wait out or manipulate around. This is toxic behavior. You were right to remove yourself from it. You blocked them. You made it crystal clear through your actions that they don't belong in your world anymore. You shut every door. You locked every entrance. You removed every avenue they had to reach you. Any healthy person would respect that, but not this person. They responded to your boundaries by trying to find back doors, by spying on you spiritually, by gathering information so they could formulate new strategies. The energy they saw suggests this might be a parental or authority figure for some of you, someone who raised you, someone who was supposed to protect you but used their position to control you, someone who's been feeding off your energy for a long time, and now that you've cut them off, they're falling apart. Because you were grounding them, your light made their darkness bearable, your stability covered their chaos, your energy kept them functional. Without access to you, they're experiencing what it's really like to be in their own energy, with no buffer, and it's intolerable to them. So instead of doing their own work, instead of generating their own light, instead of becoming responsible for their own well-being, they want to pull you back. They want to re-establish that connection. They want to tap back into you and use you like they always have. They genuinely believe they have a right to this. They genuinely believe your boundaries are unreasonable. This is someone who's never seen you as a separate person, but as an extension of themselves. The practitioner saw they're having financial struggles, real ones, serious ones. Part of why they want back into your life is to create some kind of financial entanglement. They were hoping you'd feel sorry for them, that you'd offer help, that you could create some dependence that would give them an excuse to stay connected to you, but you didn't fall for it. Your intuition warned you, your guides protected you, your common sense kept you safe. You recognized the manipulation for what it was and you didn't engage. Now they're stuck dealing with the consequences of their choices without being able to use you as a safety net. They've been studying your path, looking at your life trajectory, trying to understand where you're headed so they can throw obstacles in your way. This is someone who's taken spiritual tools and twisted them into weapons, someone who doesn't understand that this misuse creates massive karmic debt that will eventually be paid. They think they're being clever, but they're actually digging themselves deeper into a hole they won't be able to climb out of. With each vision they received, they were realizing they'd made a mistake taking this job. They were seeing someone extraordinary, someone who's done deep work, someone who's walked through fire and emerged transformed, someone who's faced their demons and integrated their shadow, someone who's healed wounds most people don't even acknowledge exist, someone who's ascended to a level of consciousness most humans never reach. And they were seeing that the person who hired them is the opposite, someone who refuses to do their own work, who would rather manipulate than grow, who would rather control others than face themselves. The contrast was stark, undeniable. This practitioner, if they have any integrity, was feeling sick, realizing they'd just helped a predator target their prey. They'd given information to someone who would weaponize it. They'd assisted in violating your sovereignty. They saw that you possess gifts that typically skip generations, abilities that usually appear once in a family line, the kind of spiritual sight that elders recognize and nurture in chosen children. You can read energy like others read books. You sense intentions before words are spoken. You feel the truth beneath lies. You see through illusions that fool everyone else. And you didn't get these gifts from some guru or teacher. You were born with them. They're woven into your DNA, encoded in your cellular memory. They're part of who you fundamentally are. This practitioner realized they were looking at someone who came into this world already awakened, already remembering, already connected to Source in ways most people spend lifetimes trying to achieve. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something, but talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $1 today. Join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. What astounded them even more was seeing how you've refined these natural gifts through experience. You've been tested, you've been challenged, you've been pushed to your absolute limits, and instead of breaking, you've become sharper, more precise, more powerful. Every betrayal taught you to trust your intuition. Every manipulation taught you to recognize patterns. Every attack taught you to strengthen your defenses. You've essentially been through spiritual boot camp, the kind of intensive training that turns raw talent into mastery. And you accomplished it without a formal teacher, without a guidebook, without anyone holding your hand through the process. You figured it out. You did the work. You became who you are through sheer determination and inner knowing. They saw something in the reading that felt like reverse justice. They felt it was unfair. Not unfair to their client. Unfair that they're now facing consequences for something they didn't fully understand when they agreed to it. They don't want this karma. They don't want your spiritual team coming after them. They know that protected people have guardians who don't play around. They know there are real consequences for violating sacred boundaries, and they're worried. They should be worried. What's coming for them might arrive in the form of an angelic presence, not a demon, an angel. And if you know anything about real angels versus the sanitized versions in popular culture, encountering one is terrifying. These are beings of immense power, beings that operate according to divine law, not human emotions, beings that execute justice without mercy or hesitation. In ancient texts, angels are described as overwhelming, awe-inspiring, frightening in their otherness. This practitioner saw that your protection might include that level of being. guardians who are already aware of this violation, already deciding how to respond. They also discovered something that explained everything. They saw that you've been walking between worlds your entire life, physical and spiritual, conscious and unconscious, material and mystical. You've never fully belonged to just one realm. Part of you has always been somewhere else, tapped into frequencies most people can't perceive, accessing information from sources beyond the five senses. This is why you've always felt different, why you've never quite fit in, why regular life sometimes feels like you're playing a role in a play where everyone else got the script except you, because you're not meant to fit in, you're meant to bridge worlds, to translate spiritual truth into physical reality, to anchor higher consciousness into this dense dimension. The practitioner saw something else that shook them to their core. They saw indicators that you might be from an angelic lineage, that you might have angelic consciousness encoded in your DNA. There are spiritual traditions that teach about souls who incarnate on earth as essentially angels in human form, souls who agreed to take physical bodies but maintain their connection to angelic realms. Souls who are here on assignment, holding light, anchoring higher frequencies, helping humanity evolve. This practitioner saw indicators that you might be one of those souls, which elevates this entire situation to a completely different level. This isn't just someone spying on their ex, this is potentially a human being trying to manipulate an angelic being. This is someone using dark tactics against someone who represents light itself. This is someone attacking a representative of divine will. The karmic implications are enormous, the spiritual consequences are severe, and everyone involved is starting to realize it. The practitioner saw that you had a genuine connection with this person at some point. This wasn't always toxic. There was a time when you cared about them, when you loved them in whatever form that took. When you were vulnerable with them and open with them and invested in the relationship, whether it was romantic or familial or friendship, they mattered to you once, and they know that. They're counting on that history, that bond. They're hoping that somewhere deep inside you still have soft spots for them, still have places where they could reach you if they just found the right words or the right approach or caught you in the right moment of weakness. But what they don't understand is that you moved away from them intentionally, deliberately, with full consciousness and choice. You didn't drift apart. You didn't lose touch accidentally. You made a decision. You chose to remove them from your life because staying connected to them was damaging you spiritually. It was draining your energy. It was keeping you stuck in patterns you'd outgrown. It was preventing you from ascending to where you needed to go, so you cut the cord. You walked away. You chose yourself over them, and that was the right decision. The practitioner saw the missing piece of your ascension, that final component that will complete your transformation. It's connected to a new person who's coming into your life, not this toxic person from your past. Someone new, someone who's aligned with who you are now, someone who matches your current energy, someone who sees you clearly and loves what they see. And this terrifies your past person more than anything else, because they know that once you meet this person, once you experience what healthy love actually feels like, once you understand what it's like to be with someone who celebrates your power instead of trying to diminish it, you'll never look back. The door to them will seal permanently. They'll become irrelevant, they'll be forgotten, they'll be nothing more than a distant memory of a version of yourself that no longer exists, so they're trying to block that meeting from happening. They're trying to interfere with your romantic opportunities. They're trying to delay divine timing. They're trying to keep you from finding your true match, because they know that person represents the end of any possibility of them getting back into your life. That person is the catalyst for your complete transformation. Once you're with someone who truly gets you, they won't even be a footnote in your story anymore. The practitioner saw that this person was specifically trying to find your fears, not general weaknesses, specific fears. What keeps you up at night? What makes you feel insecure? What triggers your anxiety? What makes you doubt yourself? because if they can identify your fears, they can use them against you. They can create situations that activate those fears and make you feel like you need them for safety or support or stability. This is manipulation at its most calculated and cruel. They saw what looks like a romantic or significant connection that's been severed. For some of you, this is an ex-partner. For others, it's a best friend you were very close to. For others, it's a family member you shared deep bonds with. Whoever this person is, there was real love there at some point, real connection, real intimacy, and that's exactly why it hurts them so much that you left, because they lost something real. They lost access to someone who actually cared about them. And now they're trying to get that back through manipulation because they never learned how to earn it through genuine change and growth. Here's what that practitioner actually saw when they looked at your energy. Someone who is whole, complete, not broken into fragments, not scattered across multiple versions of yourself, not split between who you are and who you pretend to be. You've done the integration work. You've brought all the pieces of yourself back together. You've healed the splits that trauma caused. You've unified your conscious and unconscious mind. You've aligned your actions with your values. You've become a coherent, integrated human being operating from a place of genuine wholeness. They saw that you have everything you need to create what you want in life. You're not lacking resources. You're not missing crucial pieces. You're not waiting for someone external to complete you or save you or fix you. The magic is within you. The power is within you. The wisdom is within you. All the tools you need to build your desired life are already in your possession. You just needed to remember that, and you have remembered. They saw that you're connected to a source of knowing that doesn't come from books or teachers. You tap into primordial wisdom, ancient knowledge that predates written language, the kind of understanding that mystics and sages spend entire incarnations seeking, and you access it naturally, effortlessly, like breathing. They kept seeing images of you knowing things you have no logical way of knowing, predicting outcomes before they happen, sensing danger before it manifests, understanding people's true nature beneath their masks. These aren't party tricks. These are survival mechanisms, gifts that have kept you safe when you should have been destroyed, abilities that have guided you through situations that would have crushed anyone else. Your intuition operates at a level that defies rational explanation. You don't just get hunches or gut feelings. You receive direct downloads of information from source, clear knowing that drops into your consciousness fully formed, complete understanding that arrives without the process of figuring things out. This is why people have always been slightly afraid of you, even when they claim to love you, because you see them, you really see them, past their words, past their actions, past their carefully constructed personas. You see their soul, their true intentions, their hidden wounds, their secret fears, and that level of visibility is uncomfortable for people who are hiding from themselves. They saw that your healing journey is actively progressing. You're not stalled, you're not stuck, you're not going in circles, you're actually moving forward, you're actually growing, you're actually evolving. Every challenge you face becomes an opportunity for expansion. Every wound you heal makes you stronger. Every pattern you release creates space for new possibilities. You're not just surviving your past, you're learning from it, you're extracting wisdom from it, you're using it as the foundation for building something beautiful. But they also saw something that feels incomplete, some missing piece, a final component that hasn't clicked into place yet. This is what your past person was really after. They wanted to know what that piece is so they could keep you from finding it. Because they understand that once you find it, once you complete that final integration, you'll be so far beyond their reach that they'll never get to you again. You'll ascend to a level where their manipulation doesn't even register, where their attempts to control you are like someone trying to grab smoke, futile, impossible, laughable. Then came the information that changed everything. The missing piece is connected to your next significant relationship, not this toxic person from your past, someone new, someone who's aligned with who you are now, someone who's vibrating at your current frequency. someone who sees you clearly and loves what they see, someone who will be the catalyst for your final transformation, the key that turns in the lock, the code that opens the vault, the missing note that completes the symphony. This person isn't going to complete you because you're already complete, but they're going to unlock abilities in you that are currently dormant. They're going to help you remember things you've forgotten. They're going to be the trigger for your full activation. This is what your past person truly fears. They know that once you meet this person, once you experience what it's like to be with someone who matches your energy, who celebrates your power instead of trying to control it, who supports your growth instead of sabotaging it, you'll never look back. You'll never wonder what if. You'll never have moments of weakness where you consider letting them back in. That door will seal permanently. They'll become irrelevant. They'll be forgotten. They'll be nothing but a distant memory of a version of yourself that no longer exists. What made the practitioner actually vocalize their shock was seeing the scope of what you're capable of once you're fully activated. Right now, you're operating at a fraction of your true capacity. You've been dimming yourself to make others comfortable. You've been holding back to avoid threatening people. You've been playing small because the full expression of your power would intimidate everyone around you. But the practitioner saw what happens when you stop limiting yourself, when you finally give yourself permission to be everything you actually are. It's extraordinary, it's unprecedented, it's the kind of power that shifts entire realities, that influences collective consciousness, that changes the trajectory of multiple souls simply through your presence and your example. This is why you've been tested so harshly. This is why you've faced obstacles that seemed insurmountable, because ordinary preparation wouldn't be sufficient for what you're here to do. You needed to be forged in fires hot enough to burn away everything that isn't essential, everything that isn't true, everything that isn't aligned with your highest purpose. Here's what will haunt this practitioner the most. They saw something in your energy that they've only read about in ancient texts, a marking, a signature that indicates you've been chosen for something specific, something important, something that serves a purpose far bigger than your individual life. They saw that you're not just living for yourself, you're not just healing for your own benefit, you're part of a larger operation, a cosmic plan that's been unfolding across multiple timelines and dimensions. Your healing raises the frequency of everyone around you. Your growth creates permission for others to grow. Your awakening triggers awakening in other souls who've been sleeping. You're a catalyst, an activator, a living transmission of higher consciousness. And you do this simply by existing in your truth, simply by refusing to dim your light, simply by choosing healing over hiding. The practitioner also saw why you felt so alone at times, why even in crowded rooms you've experienced profound isolation, why relationships that should have felt nourishing left you feeling drained and misunderstood. You've been operating at a frequency that most people in your life couldn't match. You've been speaking a language that most people couldn't understand. You've been seeing realities that most people couldn't perceive. This wasn't your imagination. This wasn't you being difficult or different for the sake of being different. This was the natural result of your consciousness expanding beyond the limitations that most people accept as normal. You outgrew your environment. You outgrew your relationships. You outgrew the version of life you were told was the only option, and that growth has been necessary, painful but necessary, isolating but necessary, because where you're going, you can't take everyone with you. Some people will match your new frequency, most won't, and that's perfectly okay. The practitioner saw something else that connects everything together. This entire situation, this person hiring them to spy on you, was actually orchestrated by your higher self, not consciously, but on a soul level. You needed this confirmation. You needed to know that someone trying their hardest to find weakness in you came up completely empty. You needed to see through this practitioner's shocked response that you're exactly as powerful as you've suspected but been afraid to fully own. You needed this external validation to match the internal knowing you've been carrying. Because sometimes doubt creeps in, sometimes you wonder if you're making it all up. if you're being arrogant or delusional to think you have these gifts, this protection, this purpose. And this practitioner's astounded response is the universe's way of telling you, no, you're not making it up. Yes, you really are that powerful. Yes, you really are that protected. Yes, you really do have that much purpose encoded in your very existence. That practitioner who was paid to spy on you will never forget the experience of touching your energy. They encountered something they weren't prepared for, something that shook them spiritually, something that made them question everything they thought they knew about protection and who has it and what happens when you violate someone's sovereignty. They're going to tell the story of reading you for a long time, not using your name, of course. But they're going to talk about the time they read someone whose energy was so pure, so powerful, so protected that it scared them. They're going to use you as an example in their own practice of why practitioners need to be extremely careful about whose energy they access and why ethics matter so deeply in spiritual work. And the person who hired this work is going to spend the rest of their life knowing they had something real with you and they destroyed it through their own toxicity. They're going to watch from a distance as you succeed, as you thrive, as you build a beautiful life without them in it. As you find love that actually nourishes you instead of draining you, as you create abundance that flows easily instead of feeling like a constant struggle, as you step into your purpose and share your gifts with the world in ways they can't even imagine. They're going to know that they could have been part of that journey if only they had treated you better, if only they had respected your boundaries, if only they had done their own inner work instead of trying to control yours, but they didn't, and now it's too late. That's the consequence they'll have to live with for the rest of their life. You're not who you used to be. You're not the person they remember. You're evolving in real time. You're ascending while they're watching from the sidelines. You're becoming legendary while they're stuck trying to manipulate their way back into a life you've already moved far beyond. And that's the fundamental difference between chosen ones and everyone else. Chosen ones don't just survive their challenges, they transform because of them. They don't just heal their wounds, they alchemize them into wisdom. They don't just overcome obstacles, they use those obstacles as stepping stones to reach heights they wouldn't have reached otherwise. That's who you are. That's what you're doing, and there's no stopping you now. You are protected, you are guided, you are loved by forces that most people don't even believe exist. You have angels watching over you, you have ancestors supporting you, you have guides directing your path. You have divine consciousness itself flowing through you, expressing as you, living itself through your choices and your actions and your growth. You are not alone, you have never been alone, and no weapon formed against you will prosper because you're backed by powers that operate outside the rules of this three-dimensional reality. Keep your boundaries strong, keep your energy clean, keep your vision clear, keep moving forward. Because the life you're building is going to be so magnificent, so abundant, so perfectly aligned with your soul's true purpose, that you won't even remember why you once worried about people from your past trying to interfere. They're going to become completely irrelevant to you. They're going to be forgotten. They're going to be nothing more than a distant memory of a version of yourself that no longer exists. You're not that person anymore. You're not who you were when you knew them. You have evolved. You have transcended, you have become someone new, someone stronger, someone wiser, someone more aligned with truth, someone more deeply connected to source, someone more committed to your own growth and evolution than to making other people comfortable. This is your season, this is your time, this is your moment to fully step into everything you were born to be. The universe has been preparing you for this your entire life. Every challenge was training, every wound was initiation, every loss was making space for something better, every ending was the beginning of something new, and now all of that preparation is about to pay off. Now all of those lessons are about to make perfect sense. Now all of that growth is about to manifest in tangible, visible, undeniable ways. Welcome to your power, chosen one. Welcome to your truth. Welcome to the life you've been quietly building in secret while everyone else was sleeping on you. Welcome to the version of yourself that no one from your past would even recognize because you've ascended so far beyond who you used to be. This is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of your legend. This is the moment where everything changes forever, where the wounded finally becomes the healer, where the student finally becomes the master, where everything hidden finally gets revealed. Consider this your official permission slip to stop playing small, your personal invitation to finally claim the throne that's been sitting empty waiting for you, your divine moment to finally, fully, unapologetically be everything you came to this earth to be. Now go out there and show them exactly who you really